What's going on? This is your man John Fortune, your host of the Frustrated Fan Sports Show, and today we got to talk about it. Dan Quinn, the new head coach of the Washington Commanders. For all y'all who are new to the channel, I want to first thank y'all for subscribing. And if y'all are not subscribed, come on and subscribe to your man. You just don't know. Sometimes when the future comes calling, your man John Fortune is the one who done basically told you about it. But I want to break this down because in my last video I told y'all, maybe this job isn't as sexy as people want it to be. And on top of that, you got to think about what it is that has to happen here. And to be quite honest, maybe a retread was probably the best way to go in this whole thing, because you're talking about a retread probably probably knows how to move a lot quicker when it comes to rebuilding a team. Whereas a young guy may want to already do something that puts him in a better and more safer place. A prime example, if you look at some of the coaches that are new or ones that are kind of returning, they all went to places where there was a quarterback there already, or they had the opportunity to draft high to get a quarterback. An example of that is Brian Callahan. He went to the Titans. Guess what? The Titans picked 7th overall. They're probably more than likely going to get themselves a really good quarterback. When you think, and that's if they don't believe in Will Levis, So that's that. You look at Dave Canales going to Carolina. Bryce Young, young quarterback that basically knows how to throw the ball, but was struggling a little bit last year. You look at Jim Harbaugh going to San Diego. I mean, not San Diego, Los Angeles, to the Chargers. So you sit up there and you think about it. Dan Quinn was probably the best thing we needed or was going to get to come here. You need a guy who's already gone through that transition of building a team already. And I don't think that any of these young guys was able to do it. Even when you think about somebody like Mike McDonald. Mike McDonald went to Seattle. There's a lot of things in place already there. And to be honest, and I said this in my last video because, again, all roads lead back to Mr. Wonderful. You think about it, a young guy may not be able to build this thing up just like how you want it. And even if it was me, I wouldn't want to take over a team where I got to basically start almost from scratch pretty much. When you really think about it, like I said, Ron Rivera left this cupboard very bare. Very, very bare. We're not going to have a lot of his draft picks on this team. We're not going to have a lot of his free agents on this team. So you're talking about there's a real rebuilding process that needs to happen, a full rebuild. Even though Adam Peters sat up there and said it wasn't, it is. It's a full rebuild that's going to be happening. Not only that, I'm pretty sure Adam Peters isn't happy that he had to go with Dan Quinn. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I thought we was on the verge of hiring Steve Wilkes for a minute. Because once everybody was gone, I was like, well, the only options you got out there are the retreads, or Eric Bieniemy. That's all you had left. All you had was the retreads and Eric Bieniemy. You only had Dan Quinn, you only had Bill Belichick, and you was possibly only gonna have Steve Wilkes, and only other guy you had left was Eric Bieniemy. That's it. That's all you. Those were the only options out there. So again, Dan Quinn is the head coach. He went through this type of process in Atlanta, even though he already had Matt Ryan there in his first year around. So, this is not going to be an easy turnaround. This is not going to be an easy turnaround. This is probably going to be a very long process. The thing I will say is this. We have to get the quarterback position right. I'm gonna tell y'all something. I had a whole thing ready for y'all for last night's East West Shrine Bowl game. I was set to upload the video, tell y'all about the players, Lil Tua, and how Jonathan Brooks wasn't gonna be playing in the game, how Jordan Travis more than likely wasn't gonna be playing in the game, and how this game featured a lot of really good offensive linemen that may be taken later in the draft, and how we can jump on some of these guys. But when the Dan Quinn news broke so fast, and there's going to be a long process with this. Will Dan Quinn make it out? I don't know. I mean, I think that the one thing that he might be able to do very quickly is turn the defense around. The problem is that we're going to have to go into free agency on the defensive side and really analyze how much work how many players can we get that's going to be beneficial to us, because we need a rush edge in. We need linebackers. We're going to need maybe even a cornerback if they can't re-sign Kendall Fuller, even though Kendall Fuller was our best guy. But we all know that, when it comes down to it, he's been beat a couple times, but is that the guy going forward that Dan Quinn want? Somebody's been able to develop the cornerbacks in Dallas. So again, we'll definitely have to see what goes on. I don't have a real I like it or I don't like it opinion of the hire. I just think that I just don't. Of course, you guys know you could come here for my quarterback evaluations, and I'll really go through the keys of that. What's key now is the staff he puts around him. I don't care what anybody says. We got a young quarterback coming up in here. He has to get a quarterback developer here. And to me, I know I've talked about this guy over and over again, but to me, Pep Hamilton needs to be in the building. We need Pep Hamilton in the building. Pep Hamilton has a long history of developing quarterbacks, NFL-ready quarterbacks. So, and getting them ready for week one, year one, whatever. He's done a fantastic job with getting quarterbacks here. So we need a guy like Pep Hamilton here. On the defensive side of the ball, we need somebody who can call plays. So Dan Quinn even though Dan Quinn has been used to calling plays, we need somebody else who can call plays so Dan Quinn can focus on the game more. Because we saw when he was in Atlanta, he wasn't as tuned in as you wanted him to be in the game, which is why they lost the Super Bowl. So again, we need somebody who has a very good defensive knack. Now, again, I wouldn't mind a guy like Greg Williams coming back to the NFL, but will Dan Quinn and Greg Williams be able to mesh well together? I don't know. Will Dan Quinn be okay with Greg Williams running the whole thing while he's just coaching? I don't know. So we need that. We need a really good offensive line coach, a really, really good one. Wortham is here, but what we saw last year wasn't the best thing, but again, it wasn't a lot of great talent on that line either. I will say this, when you think about Sadiq Charles, when he came in, he was playing well before he got injured. Then all of a sudden, and Samuel Cosby was playing well. So they might, if they could possibly have their guard situation good, but Sadiq just stays injured too much, so he might be out. Then you talk about the tackle situation. There are a lot of really good offensive linemen in this upcoming draft that you can actually take Andrew Wiley out and place them in there. You might want to move Andrew Wiley from that right tackle position to that left guard position because that's where he played better in Kansas City. So again, we'll see how this all maps out. But again, Dan Quinn is the coach. And like I said, I just think that if it wasn't Dan Quinn, it was probably going to be Bill Belichick. But again, the reason it wasn't Bill Belichick is because he would have wanted the power, and we just went through that. So, and Adam Peters wasn't going to have a guy come and basically make him like a little boy in his office. So, we'll see how this goes, y'all. This is going to be something, but we're really going to have to see the type of staff that Dan Quinn builds out, because if his staff isn't that good, we're going to have problems and we're going to not like him. And that is going to be something serious, because he's not a bad coach. He's a great coordinator, and he's not a bad head coach, but how tuned into his staff is he really going to be? How many guys that's already in the NFL are going to be a part of his staff? Is he going to bring anybody new, innovative, different to the staff? We'll see. His offensive coordinator, that's going to matter a lot. Again, I mean, you look at somebody like Brian Greasy, why not? Why not bring Brian Greasy? Again, like I said, Pep Hamilton, both of those dudes know how to develop quarterbacks. So again, well, even though I guess with Brian Greasy, we're giving him Brock Purdy, but still, the fact that he was able to see a talent like that and then build them up, that's actually pretty good. Again, like I said, Pep has the long resume. So again, I'm not excited yet. I'll get excited possibly as we go along. Again, I tell you, I'm right down the middle when it comes to stuff like this. This is what I'll say to all the fans out there. I don't want to hear Dan's plan. I don't want to hear I trust in Dan. I don't want to hear Dan knew, or I don't want to hear none of that. You know why? Because at the end of the day, we never know what these people are going to be until year one. And like I said, what Dan Quinn says in his press conference is going to matter a whole hell of a lot. Because if he comes out his mouth, just like Ron did, who sat up there and said he took the job because of the roster and then started flipping the roster, I hope Dan takes a better approach at just saying we're going to build the team. We're going to do our best to build this team right. We're going to focus on all of the small details so we can get this right. We got a lot of work in front of us, and we plan on making sure that we find a way to become competitive in the near future. Don't say soon, just say in the near future, because the near future could be anything. But again, that's what I want him to say, because I don't want him to be trying to promise stuff and then all of a sudden it's not working. We've had enough people promise way too much, way too early, and then all of a sudden when they fail, it's a huge problem. So again, like I said, Dan Quinn's the next head coach of the Washington Commanders. We will see what he does when he builds out his staff. I will be coming back to y'all later today, because I'm going to give y'all my Michael Penix evaluation and my Bo Nix evaluation before the Senior Bowl on Saturday. So y'all tell me what y'all think. How many of you guys are excited about the Dan Quinn hire? How many of y'all are going to say, we'll see what he does when he builds out his staff, and then we'll think about the excitement level after that? How many of y'all are like me? Straight down the middle. We'll see what happens. Other than that, this has been your man, John Fortune, and this has been the Frustrated Fan Sports Show.